Welcome back, everyone, to the Chemist Confessions podcast. We're back, finally. This is a human conversation on all things skincare science. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Gloria.
And you probably thought we've forgotten about the podcast.
Yeah, we know it's been a while. We took a little time. The first 2 months of the year, we were like, man, we really want to do it right.
Yes.
We really want to do it more frequently.
Yes.
How can we make this better for everyone?
Yes.
So you will notice that this year, we're changing up the format just a little bit.
Yeah, so we are going to basically break up our 2-hour-long episodes into 2 episodes, but don't worry, the content is still technically remaining the same. You'll still get the news, you'll get Decode That Claims, you'll also get the Q&A all in one episode, and in the second episode you will get the meat, and of course we will not forget the animal fun fact corner. That's never going away. So
yep, and you heard it here first. The goal of doing it like that is we will have weekly episodes.
You heard it here first. And hold us accountable. And I will say thank you guys so much. A lot of you wrote to us asking when the hell the podcast is coming back. We really appreciated all of that. It just kind of fueled our fire, and we really hope you enjoy this new format. So let's just get into it. Of course, it's been long enough. We do need to do a little bit of a brand update because a lot has happened.
Yeah, so you will have noticed that Mr. Reliable got an upgrade. And if you're an old fan of the podcast, it's been in the works. We previewed it circa like 2019.
Especially for the podcast.
Yes, we've been talking about it for a long time. We are very proud of the formula. Let's just say we were so ambitious on this iteration that we basically had to elevate our own chemist skills every step along the way to make sure that we get every active we like in here. The texture remains largely close to the original texture, and that it holds up to stability because we worked with some very interesting actives.
Yeah, I will say, as chemists, we always like to keep learning, but I think we hit some roadblocks with Mr. Reliable. We're like, I just want it to work. I don't care anymore.
Yep. I think the last hump in this journey was scale up issues. And boy, oh boy, it is such an important part of what chemists do. It's often forgotten. Yep. And we learned so much loving this formula and getting it finally out there.
Yeah. So we hope you guys enjoy. And then in terms of another really big piece that we're proud of, we have finally gotten our Double Play clinical results. If you haven't seen that, please check out our blog where we share the clinical and all the in-depth details of how we selected our subjects, what we were looking for. We're honestly super proud because this also took us a while to get, and the results are just amazing. We knew it worked. Yes. But I don't think we knew how well it would work.
Yes. So for those of you not familiar with the brand, Double Play is our take on retinol. Yeah. It has 0.3% retinol, and it's in an encapsulated form, and 0.3% is the active concentration that we have in this product. And of course, given that there's so many retinol products out on the market, we didn't want to create something that's a me too. Yep. So one of the most important things for us is create a retinol product that has a punching efficacy, but it's still gentle enough for the eye area. So we handpick, not on top of retinol, we handpick a superstar supporting cast in haloxyl peptides and soothers to make sure that it's a well-rounded formula. Boy, that also means we went through some interesting rabbit holes on the formulation side. And like Victoria said, after all of that, we went through the testing, make sure that it's safe for the eye area, then finally the clinical test. So we're incredibly proud of this product. If you haven't yet, check it out on our website.
Yeah, and I just want to throw out a couple stats. I think one of the things that took quite a long time was just even evaluating the right encapsulation technology. Not all are created equal. You're going to hear that a lot, especially in this episode. But being able to check on the general stability in formula, making sure that it does actually hold up throughout its shelf life. And then also, I have to just share a few clinical highlights. We saw significant improvement even at 6 weeks for crow's feet hyperpigmentation and even wrinkles and under eye dark circles. And that was the thing that I think we kind of were not expecting, because in the first 2 weeks of that 6-week period, we had the subjects on board retinol, which means they weren't even using it every night. They were actually using it every other day. So we were just generally, this is also why we're like so impressed, and we're just really proud, and hopefully you guys will also find those same results.
Yep. So check it out on our website.
Yeah.
And to thank you guys, all the podcast listeners that's been so patient with us through this hiatus period. We will also be giving out a special coupon code for everyone. So if you'd like to check out our product line, please use the code CCPodcast2023 for 15% off your order.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Time for In the News.
All right, the news.
Okay.
In the news, since we've been MIA a little bit, there's a lot of news to go through. All right, first up. So this is probably a bit of a silly thing for us to talk about.
It is silly.
But there is news. L'Oreal Active Cosmetics has been renamed to L'Oreal Dermalogical Beauty. Wow, small tambourine, woo, and drums, woo. Yeah, whatever. I will say, I think for those of you new to the podcast, Victoria and I used to work for L'Oreal, and I will say this news made me chuckle a little bit. Mm-hmm. It is a renaming. They have their reasons for doing it, but in terms of what they do, it's likely to be exactly the same.
It's just a fancy word, and I think for me, what I feel like is like the whole derm is the derm add-on. Just I don't really. I feel like they're just more falling into trends, and and it's very obvious there's so many more derm brands out there now. But it kind of makes me roll my eyes, to be honest.
Yeah, so we have witnessed a couple of these renaming, and it's like, okay, cool. And like Victoria said, I think it's interesting that they feel like, oh, that's where the market is right now. Before, I think they used the word, or not just L'Oreal, the whole industry used the word cosmeceuticals a lot to refer to these higher level, more derm-backed, more active ingredient focused brands. And now it's called dermalogical sciences, which, okay, potato, carry on with life.
Yeah, and I think the core of what that group of brands were things like SkinCeuticals, La Roche-Posay, probably now CeraVe even, but yeah.
I will say though, it is kind of interesting that for them to go through a rebrand, that means there's a lot of focus and attention on derm-backed brands or more science-forward brands. So that's always very exciting for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
All right, next up.
There is a company called Scent Genie, which I find the name to be, I don't know why, it just reminds me of like toilet cleaners or like diaper genie, like things that's supposed to mask that kind of stuff. But anyway, this company, they're launching about 5,000 new fragrances. Yeah. And the kicker is that they are going to have an AI algorithm recommend new scents to you.
Yeah, and I think we're going to start seeing a lot of AI stories come out in the beauty space, with all of the buzz around all of these chat AI, image AI, I guess companies that are starting to pop up. They're, again, not all created equal. Yep. You've got, brands in the beauty industry that talk about using AI to link maybe certain data points based on your skin, usually through a questionnaire, linking you to ideal products. And that part we will definitely say is not a ideal scenario because there's really no science that can link that specifically. You will also see and hear about AI being used to look for new discovered molecules. There's that aspect, and that's kind of in this fragrance realm as well. I think there's actually a couple companies out there that are looking at ways to map fragrances in different families because, you know, it almost feels like an art and a science, and this can be so whimsy, and there are actually so many fragrance notes out there. So this to me makes sense.
I think it's very interesting. I will say last year I went on a stint trying to find a new fragrance for me. So I will go to the mall. I have to try it out myself. And a lot of scents I like initially as it wears, I hated it by the end of the day.
Yeah.
Or things smell okay in the beginning, but it becomes really strong throughout the day.
Yeah.
But something to remember is like a core part of artificial intelligence is the learning part. That is literally the definition of AI is there's a learning component. For a lot of new companies that come out, say with this fragrance reco, I would imagine in the beginning they probably done their homework in terms of testing internally, making sure it does okay.
Yes.
But it'll probably get better with time. So keep an eye out. I'm sure it's going to develop very quickly this year.
I also still feel like there is going to be some sort of human component that connects these data points. The reason why I say this is because when we started getting into the industry, when you work for big companies that maybe have different houses, whether it's skincare, makeup, fragrance, Gordon and I actually got to do fragrance tests ourselves. And it's actually a filter to see which of the human noses can pick up very distinct scents. And some of them are just, it almost feels like you're smelling paper, but it's things like that, those olfactory capabilities that I guess get you the in the fragrance house.
I bombed that test really hard. I thought I have a sensitive nose.
Yeah.
And that test tells me that I am barely an average nose.
Yeah. It's very humbling for sure.
There were definitely test strips that I was like, you're messing with me, right? There's nothing on here.
Paper.
Yes. High quality paper.
Yeah. Anyways. All right, cool. The next one is, we missed January episode, but there are still a lot of trends lists out there that we should probably talk about. And I think one of the things we see on the rise is botanicals are back.
I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like they never truly went away.
Yep.
But at the same time, what I think is really interesting, knock on wood, at least maybe this is my perception, is that botanicals are back now with a little bit more focus on data. It's a little bit less foofy than before. People are more aware that just because it's a botanical doesn't mean it's better for you, doesn't mean it's going to work.
Yeah.
Show me the numbers.
Yes.
Kind of.
Better.
Sort of. I am a glass half full person today.
Yes. No, I appreciate that. No, it's true. And also just because of the way marketing has changed so much, users, everyone's kind of understands that there needs to be more evidence. So all of that is driving the industry to be better. So yeah, I guess for there's a few articles out there. We'll talk about one that's more on the industry insider side at Global Cosmetic Industries. They talk about just general trending organic ingredients, and we see that being launched in brands like Rihanna's makeup, even Daiso.
Yes. So Daiso, if you guys haven't had the pleasure of spending way too much money there buying little trinkets that you did not think you need.
Exactly.
And you really don't.
Yeah.
But
it's so cute.
It is adorable.
It's also not that expensive.
It's essentially a Japanese dollar store, and they are a little bit more expensive than dollar stores, but their items are more quality than just your 99-cent stores. It's a lot of fun. If there's a Daiso near you, highly recommend. But they are coming out with new cosmetics, and this is one where I will say sometimes you see makeup palettes in Daisos, especially if you go to one in Asia. I have a little bit of skepticism when 100%. It comes to that. And they are ballsy because rather than just a standard like eyeshadow palette you might find at cheap dollar stores. They are trying to launch skincare. And not just any skincare, they are claiming ceramide. In fact, their ingredient list, their product name is Decode All-in-One Gel Human Ceramide.
Whoa.
And I was like, whoa,
easy.
Whoa. Excuse
Didn't need
me.
the human part.
But I think the ingredient list is very interesting. It's not a long one, so let me just read it out loud for Victoria real fast. Goes water, glycerin, mineral oil, glycerol steroid, cetanol.
Oh.
I am done.
Ba-ba.
I have concluded the ingredient list. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
Cool.
I mean, I think that explains the dollar price tag.
Yeah, and I gotta be honest, I think in terms of Japanese skincare, there are some really beautiful textures and some really good products out there. Not to knock that. I'm just saying, sometimes I struggle with some of these like claimed ingredients in Japanese products the most because I have no idea how much is actually in there. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think for something like this, there are ingredients that's more exclusively found in Japanese markets that we don't see a lot of.
Yeah.
So in this product, say the cetanol is what I'm guessing is what they're using to claim as human ceramide. To me, it sounds like a huge reach. And also the rest of the ingredients are so common and very, very economical. Mineral oil is a great way to seal in moisture. Glycerin is a great humectant.
Yeah.
I would imagine this is probably great as a very, very basic vanilla body lotion. Oh, actually, this just caught my eye. Unless there's a mistake to the ingredient list, I am very concerned that there's no preservatives listed.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And also it's just just very basic. I would almost say like Chemist first job, first project 101 scenario.
Yes, so a little bit concerned, but we'll keep our eye peeled. And I do think the human ceramide claim is concerning, also probably lost in translation. Maybe it's human identical ceramides. I don't know what the deal is, but a little concerned.
Yeah. All right. We got one more trends list we should go through. This one is from Brandify. They just share what are the top search beauty brands and categories in February of 2023. I do have to say, you'll see like a few of these from different sources. They all feel slightly different. But this one is generally interesting. The brands that seem to be trending right now are Drunk Elephant, Charlotte Tilbury, Fenty, Tarte, Tatcha, Makeup Amario, Rare Beauty, Glow Recipe, NARS, and Glossier.
Oh, classic big players.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, probably not anything surprising.
So I'm really excited to, jazz up my makeup routine again.
Yeah, for sure. And I did want to just add that for those of you that do stumble upon vitamin C in your foundation, a lot of those are the derivatives. And so I think the best way to think about it, it's kind of a nice cherry on top. But for me, I would still prioritize functionality and performance of your makeup, because even just getting a long wear film, that is a whole nother realm of cosmetic chemistry. For those guys deal with a completely different set of problems. And so that would be the way, at least I would prioritize that. Yeah.
Good point.
All right. Moving on to Decode That Claim.
Yep. So in the new format, this first episode, we will take a much closer look at a claim, at a product, something that, we're just itching to share and talk more about.
In terms of the product that we found to be interesting to share is actually a more recent launch. This is by Dermalogica, and it's called the Dynamic Skin Retinol Serum. And the reason why it made us do give it a second glance is we see that it claims a 3.5% retinoid complex plus squalane.
Yes, so you will hear us gripe about retinol percentage. Please check our blog post for more info on that. I will say, at least Dermalogica is calling it a complex. Usually what that means is it's 3.5% of the retinol blend that you get. This is very, very common with retinol because it's a finicky ingredient. It's not stable by itself by any means. So there are a lot of producers of retinol that either encapsulate it or put protecting ingredients around it.
Yeah.
So you're never getting just retinol. In fact, in our own Double Play, the complex we got is encapsulated. That's part of the reason why our Double Play formula, the ingredient list, is a little longer than the average ones, because it's just all the encapsulation materials going into protecting it. I will say my kind of gripe with Dermalogica's 3.5% retinol complex claim is that I don't have a good understanding of how much retinol we're talking about in this product.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the reason why Gloria says that is because the Inky list, I'll read you the top 10-ish ingredients. So it's water, squalane, glycerin, hexyldecanol, propane-diol, dimethyl isosorbide. I've lost my place. Hydroxyethyl acrylate, sodium acrylyl dimethyl toric copolymer.
I missed the whole line. Never mind. Sorry.
Yep. Hydroxyacetophenone, and then you've got your hydroxypenocolone retinoid, which is your gram-active HPR, and then retinol. And so it's really hard to figure out exactly how much you're getting of which retinoid, kind of. And I think the thing that we also wanted to call out here is that in the product itself, it will say 3.5% retinoid complex, but the name is called Dynamic Skin Retinol Serum. And seeing those two, it's like, you know, now consumers have to level up their education even more, because you need to be able to see the differences of retinol versus retinoid. And that should be kind of a call out to know that, okay, you're actually getting two types here. And you need to have a good idea of, all right, how much HPR are we getting versus how much retinol? And that's really hard. And people react to these two things very differently.
Yeah. And I want to say, as someone who has a lot of sensitivities around retinoids, I also want to point out that this is where it's the retinol world is very complex. Even HPR is complex. You can source it from different places, right? Grand Active is the trade name used on this very particular one that's sold by Grant Industries. Is that the one being used here? We're not sure. Which form of encapsulated retinol or non-encapsulated retinol is used here? We are not sure, because that's not something Dermalogica talks about, which, you know, to be fair, you don't really have to talk about it. But at the same time, something to flag to people. And something that I struggle a lot with this product is I don't know who to recommend this product to. Right? So even if you have used retinol before, or you've used HPR before, are you dialing up by using this, or are you dialing down by using this? I have no idea.
Yeah. And I think then, you know, in this scenario, if you are considering this product, then we have to start looking into any sort of clinical testing.
Yes.
So luckily there is some in this sense. They actually show that they've done a clinical that within 2 weeks, they were able to see an improvement in pore size, texture, tone, and wrinkles. And they even show it around kind of the crow's feet region. I also find it interesting. Easily reduces is a really, it's a
weird phrasing.
How easily? Like gentle easily? So I think that's probably, if I guess I should say that's probably the only way to really figure out if maybe does this answer some of your skin concerns you're looking to target. Yes.
I will say, I think it's going to become a thing for our Decode That Claim Corner. Is we're going to see a lot of brands come out with their clinical studies. We have said time and time again that quality of clinical varies far and wide in between. So we will probably be decoding that clinical quite a bit this year. I will say this one, something that kind of like feels like a flag to me is a 2-week mark. I don't think it's realistic. Based on the lingo that they use, I'm assuming it's an image analysis based on some sort of Visier or another control photo mechanism. But 2 weeks, I will say, is not a very realistic claim in terms of what most of you are looking for. It's exciting that they got a couple of good pictures from that, but I couldn't find more details in terms of, you know, like how many people saw that improvement by the 2-week mark, because
True. It is a little bit kind of like a surface claim. And, you know, we'll share that, you know, they do say this is clinical results from a clinical test that involved 30 subjects. They were looking at wrinkles, pores, dark spots, and uneven texture. And I believe the claims are actually just for wrinkles, pores, and what did I say? Yeah. And was for pores, texture, tone, and wrinkles. And so I think the other thing too is, you know, we just talked about Double Play Clinical and how we wanted to make sure there was a proper onboarding period. It's kind of details like that can really give you a better picture of how to best use retinol, especially. So that's just something that, you know, if you are, let's say you're onboarding this product, we would still take it pretty slow. Still do maybe every other night. With any retinol, I think everyone should do that. And then maybe go from there and analyzing and ramping up your use experience.
Yep. So as you can see, retinol is complex. It's a great ingredient, great data. One of those wonderful catch-all ingredients that actually have proven data on all the things that it's claimed for. But it can be complex shopping for retinol. So if you have any questions, you can message us.
Otherwise, we hope that's helpful in your retinol shopping purchase, because I guarantee you're going to start seeing more and more retinol alternative crap, and we're going to get into that next episode. But we are going to wrap this episode up with some Q&A. We have two really good ones. So I think one is something that we've been seeing trend on TikTok, which we don't know how to use, but we hear about through our marketing assistant.
You know that meme of the grandma raising her glasses at the computer? That is how I feel about TikTok.
And I think one thing we are singing is, you know, we all know about the airless pump jar, and it has that kind of like table dish surface. We're starting to see people basically take every product in their skincare routine and makeup routine and dump it onto that kind of like dish surface of the airless pump jar and mix it all together. And I think the general question is, should you be doing that?
I will say, of all the TikTok hacks, in a way, I don't hate this one as much. But at the same time, I have a lot of questions as to why.
Personally, for me, I don't love this. I don't like the idea of that you might be mixing your sunscreens, your foundations.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
You know, I think the foundation part, to me, I'm like, man, a chemist is crying inside because they just spent probably a year or two trying to create the perfect long wear film. And then we added a bunch of, you know, their face oil, their serum, their moisturizer, and film gone, film ruined. So I think I personally don't love this, but, you know.
Actually, that's a great point. I would say when I was picturing it, I wasn't envisioning things like sunscreen and makeup. I would say sunscreen especially is 1,000% no on any sort of mixing. Those formulas are very, very finicky. You are destroying, well, I shouldn't say that with certainty, but there's a solid chance that you're destroying any sort of protection film properties that the formula is designed to give.
I was also going to say, even like your vitamin C serum, super acidic. Not great for some of these other formulas you're mixing with.
Yeah, so I would pay attention to any changing texture as you're mixing. If there's any sort of clumping, should be a telltale sign that you shouldn't be doing it. I will say from a microbial perspective, it's not the worst, which is why I gave that face before, because if the packaging is well designed, it should give a pretty okay seal that you're not reintroducing microbe directly into the jar. So that's not the worst thing in the world, but still kind of lukewarm as to why you would do that.
Yeah. All right. Last question. How often should you slug?
That is a great question. As the resident dry skin person on the CC team, I do it as needed. I don't do it very regularly. So for something like
once a month, once a week.
Probably like 2 times a month.
Okay.
I would say I chemically exfoliate every week. That is my thing. That is something that I stick to or I try to. Something that fall off the bandwagon and my skin makes me pay. But slugging, it's kind of as needed during the winter month, or if I travel, I will do a little bit more frequently, probably up to the once a week kind of level. And I will say, I have seen people apply, like they slug. It's a thick, gunky layer of petrolatum. I don't do that as often. I find that I usually use a balm and it applies pretty thinly. So I am definitely more prone to developing dry, peely spots during winter. And that's mainly when I slug, do a full face slug. I will say on a day-to-day basis, if I'm feeling extra dry, I do dab it on more like troubled areas. And I don't think there's a right answer, but every night is most likely excessive and unnecessary.
No, I would totally agree. And I'm just going to reveal, as an oily skin person, I will never slug. So for those of you wondering, an oily skin scenario, that's mine. But I definitely agree that when you slug every night, your skin is dynamic. It's also adapting to what's happening. And so, it shouldn't be necessary for you to be slugging every night unless you are dealing with severely compromised skin. And in that scenario, if you've been struggling with that for a really long time, consider seeing a derm instead.
Yep, definitely treat it as a kind of like a me moment or like a emergency patch up your skin kind of day. But it shouldn't be a daily routine thing.
Yeah. So that's the end of our season 4, episode 1. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Where can they find us, Gloria?
You can email us at info@chemistconfessions.com. Our website is chemistconfessions.com. And you can find us on Instagram at chemist.confessions. I would say you can find us on TikTok, but we most likely don't really respond to messages there. So let us know if you have any questions. You can also leave a comment on this video directly. And we'll see you next week on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.